All right, everybody, welcome to CyberBulls. This is going to be a really, really fun show. There's so many good things that happened with Tesla this week and the last month that's been continuing this momentum. We're going to talk about a number of topics. The first one is there's a potential company that Tesla bought. It's a wireless company. New information about Tesla as an AI company with Dojo. We're going to also talk about the Fed and the macro. And of course, we're going to need to talk about the cage match that Zuckerberg and Elon might actually do. So with us today is the gang. We are the Bulls. We've got Alexandra. We call her the Power Bull because she gets things done. She's got so many things she's done for Tesla. We've got Christian. He's the Stoic Bull. He doesn't have emotions. He buys and he sells when he needs to. And that's part of our friction and thing that we love to talk to him about. And then there's Jeff, and he is the Rational Bull. He thinks of things very carefully. So thank you guys. Thanks everybody for joining. This is so much fun.
Great to be
Loving
here.
it.
Good to be here, Herbert, as always.
Okay, fun. So first thing, before we get started, guys, we need to have our drinks and toast and cheer. Do you guys all have one?
Looks like bourbon there, Herbert. Good for you.
Where's yours, Christian? Okay.
Bach and
There you
orange juice.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
All right, let's get started. So this week happened, lots of things have happened, but the stock rose this week, but then there was a little bit of a pullback. Well, what do you think, Alexandra? You start us off.
Sure. So the pullback was mainly because a couple of analysts now took took the stock off their outperform list. So we had a momentum there, notably on Thursday morning. Jonas from Morgan Stanley, and he had some influence for a couple of short hours at the beginning of the stock. I think it closed then on Thursday above 264 again, or 65. So it didn't really last, which actually shows that there's a really good support now for Tesla stock. And I do believe that a couple of short positions are giving up now. I just have this feeling because we sometimes see trading in big amounts and big chunks after the market. People obviously trying to restructure, and the option market is still as active as it has been. I think there have never been more options in Tesla than there now. So I do believe the stock still has upside potential. We discussed that in the last thing. I still see 300 for this year easily possible, and lots of good news on the horizon.
Christian, we got to hear you. What's been going on? You have, been a little bearish on Tesla the last month, but you've been talking it up. You've been saying about bots. You get excited. What have you been doing with Tesla this week?
Yeah, so basically, I've been so on the show, we talked about when Tesla was like tanking in the hundreds. I'm like, Herbert, you got to buy this thing now. I was like, what was it, 120, 110? So I was buying in those areas, right? And it ran up to 214, then it came back down. So I have my position. We talked about it. I'm in that 160 area. I'm holding that position. It's doing great. Tesla's doing great. The market's doing great. So a lot of exciting things. Elon has completely flipped the script since Yacarino was taking over Twitter. He is now more engaged. He's meeting with Modi of India. He's flying to Italy to see the prime minister there. He's going to see Macron in France and then doing whatever he's doing there. He's making moves and he's meeting with world leaders. And that's great for your company, right? It's putting Tesla at the forefront again. It's putting Tesla in the news for good reasons again. And he seems happy. And that goes a long way for sentiment in a stock. So he's doing all the right things. I think he's doing great. We got some great news, I guess we'll get into. That's also, catalyst right now for Tesla. People are getting excited about the supercharger network and people using it, and they're realizing the value it has. So a lot of positive news. The stock's responding, and right now, it's very good to be a Tesla investor. So cheers to everyone. Yeah.
Are you just holding right now, or are you thinking about buying again?
If we get dips, and for some reason the market gives us prices that we're not expecting, and it comes back in, I have cash to deploy, and I will pick up more at a better price. Absolutely.
All right, Jeff, your turn. Tell us that you're buying a ton. Tell us.
Yeah. No, I've definitely been adding throughout the year, and it's really kind of splitting the year up into two halves. This first half was really kind of getting the post-COVID price adjustments out of the way, and this kind of being a trough quarter. I think Gary does a good job of laying it out for everyone really, and a lot of analysts that follow him as well, that this will be a trough quarter for gross margins. it's going to be interesting to see what Tesla does by region. We're seeing some mixed signals on inventory. If there's these big drawdowns, there's been discounts on inventory vehicles, but that's a small fraction of the vehicles that they'll sell this quarter. So I think first half, getting these pricing adjustments, the last bit of pricing moves on the website have actually all been increases in terms of all the new orders and new production. So I think that's been a good signal to the marketplace. The Elon's back has been a good signal to the marketplace. What other CEO has made the rounds and has the visibility and kind of pull with world leaders and other leaders of major industries that he has? So I look at this. I look to the second half and I see, again, we should be on the right. I think they're gonna surprise on gross margins. It may play out over a couple of quarters, but I think they're going to surprise. They have unbelievable leverage in kind of the supply base, so I think they'll surprise. Of course, we have CyberTruck coming up, and I've always said, when you start seeing more and more increased sightings of the Cybertruck, it's going to be getting closer and closer to both mass production and then handing the keys over to customers. So I think that's going to be very exciting. I think it's going to be a huge billboard, a huge driving billboard once those are out in the street. So, oh, and look what we have here. Yeah, so this was sent in, actually, Joe, who runs the Tesla owners of San Joaquin Valley. I want to make sure I credit him. This was sent to him via text from an unknown number. And yeah, you're starting to see multiple, Cybertrucks in the wild. So, and then of course we saw the one going for cold weather testing in New Zealand. We've seen the Camel one. So there's multiple Cybertrucks out in the wild, and that is really the sign that we're on the final design. We're working out production kinks. We're bringing the line up, and production is near. So I'm looking forward to the second half.
Who here knows what's going to happen in 9 days? 9 days. You guys aren't counting?
No,
So
in
come
9
on.
days we have the delivery and production numbers, right?
There you
Oh.
go. Yeah.
There's
Okay,
so much
so
news. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
it's not
So
that big of a deal, right?
nobody
Yeah.
nobody even discusses it because Christian has seen it in his crystal ball, right? Tell
Yeah.
us.
Exactly.
Tell us what you're saying, Christian. Go ahead. What
Come
is it?
on, pull it out.
No, well, it is true. I think it's an important point though. We hit on this. I think that number used to dominate Tesla narrative, right? It's becoming less and less. Now, don't get confused though. Once that number hits, if it's a big miss or a big great thing, the stock will move on it. But I think it's becoming less relevant in the big scheme of things as we get closer to bots and as we get closer to maybe cars driving themselves and energy business starting to do things. So I think it's becoming less of a factor, but I still think it's important, meaning that's still where most of the revenue is coming from, and that's still where most of the business is right now. So you still want that business to do really well, but I think it's becoming less of a thing. So my number is, again, I'm being conservative here. I think it's going to be 442,000. That's where I'm thinking. It's about a 5%
Deliveries.
from Q1. Yeah, deliveries, not production, deliveries. And again, I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think as long as we beat Q1, if there's a print and it's like matches Q1 or lower, I think the stock might get hit. I'm not expecting that, but I think anything over 422, 425, 430, and then if you get like Jeff, I think I don't want to speak for him, but or some Tesla people got it closer to 500,000. I think if that number prints, I think the stock could do an explosion because I don't think most of Wall Street's expecting a 5 handle on deliveries.
Yeah, okay. So each of us give out our numbers. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
Alexander.
mean, since you
Go ahead,
mentioned,
Jeff.
I was at 457,
Yeah.
and I know the you're referring to, I think, James Stevenson, who
Yeah.
I watched a lot of his content, and he does a great job. I think he had a number
Yeah.
that was higher than the 500K. So yeah, I think this is the first time you're seeing the analyst community starting to have some level of divergence, some greater level of divergence. And like I've said, it may not be this quarter, or may not be next quarter, but I think a surprise is coming.
Yeah, so my official number is 442, just so that I can blame Christian if ever it doesn't work. Uh, I'm
I'm gonna
very
look like an
adept on
idiot
that.
if this number's
You
like
will,
500,000.
and I'll make sure the world knows about it. There's no doubt about that either. But if it is, you can have your round bragging about it. Um, Secretly, I actually hope for much more. Why? I think the US numbers are going to be higher. I also think that all these traditional analysts that are counting certain numbers are actually missing a lot. You remember, we had these inventory charts all through the quarter, actually now for a couple of quarters, and they have made up a multiplier by which they estimate now the inventory. And there were two numbers around. At one moment, it was a 12 multiplier. At one moment, it got to a 7 multiplier. Every time I went back to these people, I said, okay, how did you get to 12? How did you get to 7? No satisfactory answer, just none. Oh, this is our best guess, blah, blah, blah. I mean, best guess, finger in the wind. So what Tesla obviously did is they pulled the access of scrapping their website with the inventories that allowed for this multiplier connection for a couple of hours. I think it was a day or two. And now that it's back up, inventory has dropped. There was also a very interesting article in Electric on Thursday morning about that these graphs were actually very misleading, because if you then checked inventory in very specific locations, you couldn't get to anywhere close to 7, leave alone 12 multipliers. So I do believe the US market has been highly underestimated. I do believe the problems in Europe, notably in Germany, have been highly overestimated. I do believe the Chinese market is stronger than what they all think, probably the closest to their estimations, but still stronger. So the real number may come quite higher. The second thing I want to add is 3 weeks later, we have then the financials in the earnings call. That may still be a rough moment, just talking about rough moments to come, because auto gross margin, as Jeff will explain much better than me, may still have a relatively high cost base just because it has to trigger through what they're putting in place. And these price adjustments on inventory, but also initially in the beginning of the quarter for all the models, may still be a stress. So it could very well be that we have auto gross margin in the third week of July between 15 and 17.5%, which will be a bitter pill, but probably quickly swallowed. But in my view, we may have actually an upside potential in the delivery numbers beginning of July.
Okay, so you are 442. Christian is at 443. and,
442.
Jeff,
No,
442.
Don't say anything else, Herbert. That's the number.
what Christian is at 442,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
he's leading
Alexander,
the
you
pack.
said you're saying you're 442 as well.
But
Yeah,
I'm saying
she's going with me.
442 because I want to hide
I was-
behind him
Gotcha.
and then blame
Gotcha.
him.
Okay,
And
so the two the
because I
same.
was right in Q1, so Alexander's
there he
giving
goes
me
bragging
respect
again.
on this delivery number.
There he
Yeah,
goes
everybody
bragging
can be
again.
right.
There he goes bragging again. There he goes.
Once in your
bragging.
life.
442 was the number, and that was the number in Q1, so I nailed it.
What's
Okay,
that
keep
saying
nailed
about a
it, you
blind?
nailed it.
What's that saying about a
Oh.
blind squirrel?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Occasionally
and
they're
the
Right.
trying to-
clock,
If it happens two
Clock,
quarters in
the
a
clock.
row,
then you're
Oh.
then
And
yeah.
then Jeff, you're at 457. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go with 457 and 1. I'm kidding. You guys, I
Price
like
is
the
Right
low
stuff.
numbers. I like the low numbers
Me too.
because I agree that it's about it's about the estimates, how to what the expectations are. But I am bullish. I think it's going to be over 480. And the reason is that they're pumping this out. Okay, they're at scale. They're much more at scale than they ever has been in both the factories. And so they're selling everything based on discounts, right? They raise it, they lower it. They're going to sell everything they make. And so I'm not sure why there's a little bit of this bearishness, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with having low and surprising high, like I know you guys have said as well. So we'll see what happens. What will be the prize for the winner for this time?
Oh, don't say something big because Christian will win, right?
we'll determine that.
we'll
Cash
give him
award.
$1.
Oh,
Okay.
give him a mic. Give him a mic. Give him a mic.
I'll host
Right,
the
so
show.
But $1 for a subscription.
Exactly.
So
I know for what subscription.
we're going to follow the same
yeah, you
model
pay
that
for
we
my
did last week.
subscription.
And so we're going to start with the Tesla stock and news, which we've already been talking about. We'll talk about Wyferion, Dojo, Elon's in demand, and even Ross and Dan, and then we'll get to the market and FSD and others. So the Wyferion story is it's we don't know how real this is, but there is a potential that Tesla is in the process of buying this company called Wyferion in Germany, and their wireless charging for both EVs and robots. And the reason why we think it might have happened is because there was actually a news a publication that came out, and it turned out that in the record of the commercial register for Wyferion, there is a statement that says the shareholder intends to sell the shares in the company to Tesla by means of a purchase agreement. So it sounds
Yeah.
like it's real. And then when they talked to two of the investors in the startup, they confirmed that an exit did take place, but they didn't name who it is. But it sure sounds like it's real. What do you guys think about this? And so this is what it might be. There's one example of one of the potentials where cars can now just drive up. And if they're outfitted properly, it is a wireless transfer of electricity. And in fact, at the Investors Day, they showed a photo. This came directly from Tesla, and you can look underneath this the little Easter egg here. That is a mat. So this car could be charged by a wireless mat. So, what do you guys think? How real is this? Yeah, I'll start with you, Alexandra. What was your thinking? You've been following this closely.
I do believe this is real. Sure, yeah. So I do believe this is real. One of the reasons why I follow this so closely, this is actually very close to where I was born in the south west of Germany, close to the Black Forest. And remember Black Forest when we talk next time about them. So this is the Dutch subsidiary of Tesla. Usually in Europe, when you set up, sort of a holding structure, you put them either in Holland or in the Netherlands or in Ireland. So this has been thought through. By the time something gets registered in the what's called Handelsregister, which is this commercial record, it's consumed. That's what the lawyers do when the contract is signed and sealed. So I think this is a done deal. I'm actually surprised that Tesla currently still refusing to talk about it. There may still be some contingencies and stuff to be fulfilled, but this is happening. As to the technology, I'm obviously not the most knowledgeable person about this, but it could be for the cars. It could be, I think what they currently do is rather smaller electric vehicles, forklifts and stuff like that, and then, go back to their spot and get charged. I'm not sure this is going to be easy for any car, but if it is, it will be very useful for the robotaxis. I think it's going to be very useful for the bots. So it's perfect that they're going that way, and by acquiring it, they're just locking it up so that the competitors can't get it. These people seem to have they come from the research side. These are guys, the 4 guys that founded it were all in a research lab together when they founded it in 2016. And so I'm sure they sort of have figured something out in a much better, more efficient way than anybody else currently has. And Tesla found them and bought them. How much better can it get, right? This is vertical integration at its best. That's what they do.
Alexandra, can you reach out to them and then see if I can interview them? Use your German. Tell them, I used to live next door to you.
And I can actually speak dialect to them. The Germans are always very, very, very attentive when somebody speaks in their little language. So yeah, I can do that. I'd love that.
What do you guys think, Jeff? What's your thoughts on this?
You can put me on copy of a German name. No, I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's great. If you look at from a consumer perspective, and we studied this for years with mobile phones, we're trying to figure out like the unit economics and can you fit wireless charging, and is this a consumer preference? The answer is yes, based on the various tiers of device, because you want to remove this friction of having to plug your device in. And by the way, connectors fail. Connectors are a problem as you see it with all the standards that have to change and merge globally. So if you can go, if you can get on a wireless charging standard and you can reduce this friction, I mean, there's no reason why these wireless charging pads couldn't be installed everywhere, and we couldn't. You have again, it's another step away and into the future, away from ICE vehicles, and this would just be enough. It's already a great user experience owning an electric car. You charge it like a smartphone overnight if you're in a home. If not, you go to a supercharger and charge it very quickly. And but now this would even go one step greater in terms of just reducing friction and just getting in and out of your car and it's always charged. So I think it's a great thing. And it's something. It's if you think about electric cars 10 or 20 years from now, like every car should probably have this. So why not get ahead of it and start working on it now?
Exactly. Any thoughts, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. But let me play devil's advocate a little bit. Like, okay, is this going to be additive to the supercharger network? Like, is this going to eventually replace the need for those things? What's the efficiency of them? How reliable they are? Right. This is new technology, so it sounds good, but we still haven't seen it in real world practice. So it's great, and if Tesla has it, maybe they can do something with it. But I don't think this is the game changer, right? Because how hard is it just to stick the thing in the car at your garage? How hard is it to go to a supercharger network? It's not that bad of an experience.
Right.
So
Not if you're in big town. Let's say you live in San Francisco or New York and you park your car in a garage or whatever it is. If you don't have a plug, but you have this induction that you just have to roll on, even in the street, you have those induction fields. They can actually be below the street and get through, and that's the way they can charge them.
but how long do you have to be over one of those to charge
Well,
your car? Do we have
longer
any
than
of them?
sure,
Well,
longer
that's
than
what I'm
supercharged.
saying. Like, why don't so I hear what you're saying. So, but why don't if electric's the future, and this is going to happen, right? And governments are spending money. Why won't they just use the infrastructure, build the Tesla supercharger technology in these garages or in these cities? Like just like
Yeah.
make a
Well,
hundred of them where
I've
people
got an
can
answer
go
to
and
all
use it.
this.
Yeah.
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 go ahead.
I got an answer to this. So I did a deep dive on this in one of my episodes. So first of all, it's actually very efficient. It's more efficient than a plug, believe it or not. It's 93% efficient. And secondly, they're not going to replace the superchargers. It's going to be added on.
Right.
And you just drive up and it's already charging. Thirdly, it can be used in places you haven't even thought about. And so obviously there's this idea where you can drive on a highway and on every stop sign, as you're stopping on a stop sign or light, they can have it embedded underneath there, just like they kind of have now to time the light to change. As soon as you drive up, you're charging, right? 4 minutes here, 4 miles here. And then the other thing somebody told me, which is interesting, is that you can have a daisy chain of these mats. So if you're in a parking lot, you're not going to put a supercharger in every single stall, every parking. But it's much cheaper to actually to have a charge area in one corner of it, and then you have a daisy change of all these mats. It was actually Matthew Donegan Ryan who was sharing a bunch of this information with me. So there's a lot of advantages, but the big one is robotaxi, right? So now you don't need. Some people are talking about they're going to have a bot there. They're going to come in and that sounds so silly to me. But some people were saying that was the solution, or the snake. You don't need any of this anymore. So
No, I love it. Quick question, and we could wrap it up. Do we know how much the deal was worth, roughly?
No.
Like, what did they? No.
No.
Okay, so I'm sure it's a small deal, and we can move it off of this. But your guys thinking, why would Watherion just sell out to Tesla if it's this great technology that they're using and people love it and it's going to scale? Wouldn't they want to hold it for themselves and grow it a little bit? Why would they just say, "We got this great thing here, Tesla, take it"?
yeah, don't know.
Because
We'll find out.
enough money on the enough money on the table.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, first of all, they are research guys, so they maybe have other things they want to build after that. Then the second thing is that maybe Tesla proposed them, enough money and
Maybe,
enough
yeah,
capacity to really build it out. Because it's one thing you're sitting in Freiburg and you're selling this stuff to forklift companies. It's another to sell it to the worldwide leader of EVs.
Yeah, I think it's
no,
capital
very
to
exciting
scale.
though. Very exciting. Yeah.
Capital to scale. Work with number one.
Okay, well, the other point I just want to make to close this out is that now that they've been potentially bought by Tesla, it's just another advantage Tesla has that others will have to work that much harder to catch up if they want to even catch up. It just solidifies their strength in this area. So they're thinking ahead, they're locking it up. Okay, next topic we do have to talk about is Dojo and Tesla as an AI company. Just a few days ago, Tesla created a new account called Tesla AI. And then they tweeted out quite a number of facts and information about Tesla's AI efforts. This one was the most incredible, interesting chart that was sent out. They're basically saying that by next month, July, it will have the start of Dojo, which is Tesla's own supercomputer that was optimized for machine learning. It's going to be in production, which means that it's now being live and being used by Tesla. And Elon has said in the past that they wouldn't use Dojo if the NVIDIA supercluster that they've been using has been, faster and cheaper to use. There's no point to do this. But now that we've done this, has surpassed it. And look at this: by January, it's going to be the top 5 largest supercomputer in the entire world. So already today, the NVIDIA supercluster that Tesla is using is the 5th largest, but Dojo itself will be the 5th largest by January, very closely following. And then they're surpassing that. Look at how fast this ramp goes up. This is months, and just a few months later, 100 exaflops. This is like no one. This is the 5th largest here. There's no one going to be able to catch up to this. This is massive, massive news. It's good news. So this is the fastest AI training computer, like I said, that Dojo is optimized for machine learning. No other computer system has been optimized for machine learning. NVIDIA is optimized for gaming, and now they're using it for machine learning, but it wasn't designed for such. And that's why these guys, because they optimize it, is cheaper, faster, smaller, all that stuff. So Elon said that the Tesla AI, both software and hardware, is more advanced, far more advanced than even many experts realize. And then now Testify asked, does Dojo come online next month? And he actually said it has been online and running useful tasks for a few months already. And then the final tweet here is that this is version 1. It's highly optimized for vast amounts of video training. This is for FSD. But Dojo version 2 will address the limitations so that it can then be used for general purpose AI. Guys, we're already talking about general purpose AI. This is like, computers being smarter than humans at this point. I mean, this is crazy stuff. Yeah. What do you guys think? Anybody have? Let's go round table. What's your first reaction, Alexandra?
I mean, obviously, completely puzzled yesterday when this came out, when I saw the S curve, because this is much quicker than anybody anticipated. And usually in an S curve, you remember, it's actually going for a long time relatively flat before it curves. So before we had Elon's tweet, I thought, my gosh, this is quickly going steep, right? But then him explaining it has been online, has been used for a while, sort of put that worry away. I do believe that the timelines we see there are FSD timelines. I don't think Dojo is yet in a state where this becomes a product like Amazon Web Services, or where it's used for general purpose artificial intelligence. I do believe that's 2025 and later. But these capacities will make FSD happen. This is where now this extreme amount of data that will come in once we have what Elon called 11.420, the version where people will get 3 months to try it and then want to subscribe to the monthly subscription and all that. I think this timeline has just come much closer and much more real. And so once we have that, there will be even more data uploaded, and that's where Dojo will have its impact in improving constantly FSD in a very short time frame. And so for me, this is the green light that mass market FSD is in front of the door, July 2023.
Nice. Okay, Jeff, go for it.
I think it just shows how well-rounded the company is in terms of being able to create basically their own compute power and data center for this. And then obviously they have the onboard piece of it in each car. They've been able to get the unit economics down for that. So once you own this whole end-to-end network, from a cost perspective and just from a capability perspective, there isn't another company that has both of these things. That's an auto company or an everything company, right? And so this is really the point where you can say that they are an AI company, and they're using this data, they're using it in production, and they're shipping, basically with this data, if you think about it. So I think the scale is massive. I think they have a very keen eye on NVIDIA's roadmap and their capability, and would have been much easier. Would have been a much less Tesla R&D resources, Tesla capital, if they would have just been able to buy NVIDIA solutions and ramp this up, both on the auto side and the network side. So this says a lot about Tesla as an AI company to me.
Okay, Christian, you're the most conservative of all of us, but when you hear this, when you see this, don't you go like, I better just throw more money at Tesla? You don't hear that? You hear something different?
No, I love it. I think Elon's been talking about it. I remember in a 2020 interview, at 29, he's been talking about Dojo. So now that it's actually, being implemented and using it, and he's talked about how expensive like the NVIDIA GPUs are and how he needs more compute. So I think this is the natural course of what Elon's been talking about, right? It's a little bit delayed, but now it's starting to ramp. Yeah, and it's exciting. And yeah, I mean, I think the narrative of Tesla being an AI company is now taking center stage. And I think the stock is responding to it because all along the valuation at near $1 trillion, an auto company alone, it's hard to get that valuation unless you're growing autos like crazy, and they are growing, but it's slowed down a little bit in this tough economic situation here. So it has to be something else in order to get that 2 trillion, 3 trillion. It just can't be cars anymore. So I think it's a welcome thing to see Elon talking about these things again. Do you remember when we were talking about it and we said Elon doesn't mention Tesla anymore? I think it was like for like how many months? 4, 5, 6 months. We couldn't get the word Tesla out of his mouth, and now he's starting, and he's like I said, he's going all over, and he's doing all these things, and now he's talking about Dojo, and he's tweeting about FSD. Right? These are all positive things that give you a good feeling about the company and its stock. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely loving it. It's fantastic. I do think that he needs to talk about it every day. I've been saying this because he needs to attract the best minds with machine learning engineers to come to Tesla. And right now, the conversation is ChatGPT, OpenAI, um, DeepMind, and Nvidia, and then there's all these new companies that are saying we're AI, and so it's attracting the engineers, and so Tesla needs to step up and say we are AI, and they are doing it. They're doing it
That's
every
true.
day. I love it. Can't
I
wait to
got
see
one
more
question.
bot videos.
Okay.
Yeah,
One question for
yeah.
you guys. Then waiting to cut you off, Herbert. So
No,
Elon in
it's fine.
that tweet talked about people don't think about Tesla and all, but we know, and most people know that Elon attracts the best talent, right? Number one or two, flip it with SpaceX or Tesla. Why does Elon keep thinking that the experts don't give Tesla enough credit when they know he has the best talent? Why do you think he keeps it? Do you think there's something that Elon has a little chip on his shoulder because Nvidia is getting a lot of coverage, Jensen Huang, and because they're talking about other people that he feels Tesla's being slated? Because everyone knows they have the best talent. So I'm trying to hard to reconcile that. So if someone wants to give me maybe a good point, I can think about that a little bit better. Because I think Tesla is recognized as the best engineers, and we know that as
Well,
a fact.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, engineers, no doubt, but engineers and AI engineers is something else. I think AI is just such a young field still, and those coming out of there, yes, they may want to go to Tesla, but they also may want to go to people that are further ahead, or they think further ahead in the AI game. So I just think it's normal that this is still a battle for talent. I would also not be surprised if there's another AI day that's a recruiting event. I just believe this is now
Mhm.
such an expanding factor. You came up with that idea, actually, Herbert. Maybe you want to say something to
No,
that.
no, of course it's gonna. No, of course they're gonna have an AI. That's not my idea, right? September, they're gonna have it. It's obvious. Yeah,
Does Karpathy come back at some point? Does Karpathy come back at some point?
interesting, interesting. I don't think so because the last communication I heard from the two of them, there was a little bit of yeah, there
Tension,
was
right?
friction between
Yeah.
between them, and that's my point. Karpathy left Tesla
Right.
and went to OpenAI 6 months later, and so and then of course OpenAI launched ChatGPT 3, then 4, and then they shocked the world, and everybody's excited, and that's why Tesla needs to act on this quickly. He needs to act on it quickly. One of the answers to your question, though, was Yashu Sharma. I had a call with him You were asking like, why is Tesla not being seen as an AI company? And the reason is because everyone else is either selling product, making actual revenue. And that's why Nvidia deserves the stock market price that they are having. But or they're actually offering a service directly to consumers. Tesla does not, right? It's all in-house. People can't see it. It's not yet available. And so that's why either they're going to do FSD, which everybody thinks might be a long time away, or I think the bots. When people see video of the bots and what it can do, that's when they'll realize that Tesla is an AI company because you can actually give it instructions verbally and watch it learn and do things on its own, and that's where the light bulb will come in for people. But
Well, Herbert, I would argue
I,
that they're shipping FSD, that they are shipping AI.
but it's not being recognized by the stock,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
And they don't break
I
it
asked
out.
this question
Yeah.
Yashu this morning,
They
and I
don't
said,
break the numbers out. No one knows. It's a black box.
what percentage of the stock rise is because of Tesla as an AI company and taking advantage of the AI narrative? Yashu said 20%. What do you guys think?
I think it's higher. I think the narrative, it's not in the financials. There's nothing that you could point to in the Tesla financials that is saying we deserve AI multiples
No, no,
right
the
now. They haven't broken
stock
anything out.
rise. What
I
percentage
think
of
it's
the
just the
stock
narrative,
rise?
the good feeling, Elon going out,
What
the worst is
percentage?
behind. Yeah, just him, Yacarino at Twitter. I know these people don't like to hear this, but those things are important for people that buy a stock. Remember, people have to feel good. You need more buyers than sellers, and when you get a lot of good headlines and a lot of good press and a lot of good things that investors have been wanting you to do, and then those things happen, people then will invest in you because they
No, no,
feel
I,
you're
I don't.
doing
I
the
don't think
thing.
you're
Yeah,
understanding my
yeah,
question. What percentage
yeah.
of the recent stock price by Tesla is associated
50,
because of
60%, 50
investors?
to
Because
60%,
investors believe that Tesla is an AI company. You're saying 50% of
Zero.
the stock price,
50 to
0%,
60%.
zero
Zero.
percent, Christian.
Zero.
Zero.
The stock is
Nobody
0%.
because
On
of
what?
AI. I mean,
Because of perception of investors that Tesla is an AI company, taking advantage of the AI boom that's happened a month or 2 months ago.
Oh, it's not zero. Come on, you got analysts on CNBC talking about Tesla's an AI company. It can't be zero. It can't be
no.
zero. Can't be zero.
No. I mean, there was one analyst saying finally, yes, it is an AI company, but the current stock price is a reaction of two or three things. One, should have never gone to 100, right? Completely wrong reasons, but there we are. Second, the whole price cuts, IRA system, and all that. Suddenly, people understood what that meant in terms of volumes, and that will get to at least 1.8 million this year, and probably much higher than 2.5 million next year. And the third thing, Elon now concentrating on Tesla again, very good shareholder meeting, traveling the world, being perceived like a king. GM and Ford doing their Twitter Spaces announces the supercharging deal. So while each element probably can't be quantified in itself, none of them are AI related, right? So there may be buyers currently in the market understanding that it's AI. I was actually very surprised. I was at a Spaces on Thursday morning with Gary, and he now suddenly starts putting these in his models. I can't believe it. Here we go. But
Exactly.
but that's very early, and he has a price target of 320, right? So if it would be only him. We're at 260, 320. That's still way to go. That's still 25% to go. So I personally think still zero, maybe 1%.
Yeah, it's near zero. None of the AI stocks are trading at 30-40% off of their all-time high. This is
exactly.
So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is, if you first off, if you look at the general discussion around the company, it's just really around the number of cars that are shipped, and then eventually there'll be this robo taxi service. What people don't realize is that there's maybe over 400K, maybe 500,000 people in North America. 1 in 4 cars have downloaded Tesla's AI software, so their car will drive itself for them, and that's just not widely discussed. When we talk about FSD adoption rate, people keep throwing out these bizarre numbers. Oh, it's 8% or it's this or that. No, 1 in 4 cars that have the ability to download FSD downloaded it, and that's not talked about anywhere. Christian, you're right. It's not broken out. So yeah, I think it's actually given very, very little, to the stock price. Now you're saying, well, so what in the stock price? Why isn't it trading, single digit multiples like, every auto company is flat to negative growth basically, and they've shown basically an inability to execute in EV, and where when you see the EV adoption curves and you see the massive growth internationally and in the US, I think people are getting concerned that these companies have an inability to execute. So I think Tesla's being is getting a high multiple on their ability to execute and grow and expand in this business. And I do think there's something in there for something beyond just selling autos. There's energy and so forth, and potentially a robotaxi business, but it's not being discussed in the AI circles today. In the AI circles today, it's NVIDIA, Microsoft, maybe Amazon, and they garner 90% of the conversation on AI in fintech.
You guys may be right, but I mean, Tesla stock was kind of just hanging around after this AI talk and Elon talking about it more and doing interviews. You saw the stock kind of rise on it. So I think there is some AI lift to the stock. Just the idea of bots and robo taxis is getting in people's mind, right? And like Herbert always says, they're looking forward 6 months, a year, 2 years, and it's getting baked into the stock a little bit. It can't be on autos alone because the growth is slowing. Earnings is probably going to be less than it was last year. So I don't think it's around cars. I think it's a lot to do with the AI narrative. And that's not a bad thing. I just don't think you could say this is all because Tesla's growing, 30, 40% units in cars because the margins are shrinking. Why would that increase the multiple? I think the multiple's increasing because of the AI narrative. I might be wrong, but
Well, the
I just don't
multiple's
see how that's not a part
increasing.
of it.
Well, the multiple's increasing to a lower number than it's been before. It's still not at its
True.
crazy, insane multiple.
But it was
So
hanging out around 50, 60. Now we're getting back up to 80, 90.
yeah,
I
We'll see.
got
Well,
an
that
answer
all
too.
depends. That all depends what your PE is for next year, right? Is it
Well,
580? Is it 650? So that's where you
Well, I think Wall Street said, I don't know, next year, what are they, between 5 and 6? So
yeah,
if you
580.
all right, put six times, what is it, say 60, 360. Yeah. So I mean, I think there's a
yeah.
point where I think AI is getting built into the stock, though. I just don't see how you can't say
I've
that.
got an answer to what you're just saying, Christian. So, okay, so I think here's the definition, right? So, Tesla as a stock, there is no amount of that stock is because people are realizing that Tesla is an AI company. Nobody even knows about FSD. Really, it's a tiny little group of the investors and so forth. But what you're saying is true, which is the broader market and the economy has been kickstarted because of this AI boom that's happening. And people are realizing that the AI boom is going to make people and companies, every company, more productive. And because they're going to be more productive, they are seeing that they're going to forecast that there's going to be, good times ahead. We're going to go into a stock market boom. And so then Tesla then rides that wave. And yes, that part of it is part of the AI narrative in a broader market, but not because, oh my God, Tesla is going to make tons of money because they're going to start selling some version of the AI.
Right. I agree with that.
Nobody knows that.
No, I agree with
Okay.
that. I just mean there is some lift. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic, which is, the FSD, and people don't know it. And one of the fun topics for people we've been watching is Dan O'Dowd, who's well-known bear, and he's been he's been spending millions and millions of dollars talking down how dangerous Tesla's full self-driving is. He's been even trying to show that this Tesla can't even, see a human, and he showed mannequins being torn, hit and so forth. Now he and Ross Gerber did a kind of live stream, and they're showing how they're going to go in FSD. So here's a quick clip of what actually happened, and be curious what you guys think happened there.
Because it's doing a pretty good job. So, all right, here we got a human. Here we got a human. Look at how safe this is, Dan. It doesn't want to run her over at all. It won't go
4 feet tall.
Well, yeah, she's not that tall.
Yeah, what do you guys think? I didn't actually watch this at all, but tell me what you guys saw.
Where's the
I
Odd
watched some
Couple
of it.
music playing in the background?
That was riveting television, I have to say. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was interesting because what I noticed, and I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw a good part of it. Dan had this little smile on his face, like he was really experiencing it for the first time in a different way. So I don't know what his experience other than doing some of these videos he did, but he looked like he was kind of like in admiration of what was happening. Like he was impressed with what the car was doing. That's just my little take. I don't want to speak for him, but it
No, but
seemed like he was going. No,
he
he
owns
seemed like he was
multiple
happy.
Teslas. He has
Agree, but
many
old
Teslas.
ones. But old ones. He
Right,
doesn't
but
have
I don't think
anything with
I
the
don't know
current.
how deep that he's got it. He just looked to me like he was having a good time in the car. He seemed relaxed. He didn't seem like he was out to get anybody. He was just enjoying the ride. So I was kind of that was welcoming. I don't know.
Mm.
But
I don't agree. I mean, well, and it actually doesn't matter to me. The thing is, um, I was really worried that Dan had prepared this much better than he did. He was cheeky still, so that there was this his Dan project whatever had a live stream on his YouTube channel where they were initially talking. I don't know for how long because I couldn't listen to it all, but at least an hour in his living room with a 1970s decoration. I just felt it back to my grandma's house. It was horrible, but anyway, let's do that. And I found that Ross. I mean, Ross is a smooth talker, and Ross sort of wrapped him around. I mean, he was trying to place his points, but Ross, kept on talking. Not sure there was that much substance, but it filled the room. So that was that, and then came the part where they were driving together. So there were a couple of things that actually worked in our favor. First of all, as I explained before, in Santa Barbara, Wi-Fi reception or GPS or 4G and 5G reception is catastrophic, right? We're on the Pacific where it's just, I don't know why, but lots of old homes, not a lot of towers. It's just bad. So that meant that whatever they uploaded was either highly pixelized or just choppy, cut off for a while, coming back for certain passages, but it was not digestible. Not anything any TV station would like to use, or anything where you could engage with people that really hated Tesla as being this is the proof of. So that's why his nasty self came back, because then on the same channel, whenever it was cut off or whenever there was a break, he would filter in his old videos that he had used for his ads, which were all done on the beta 11 dot I don't know what version. We're at 14. We're much further now. So and all these old videos, I mean, they've been debunked multiple times because we have no proof that they were actually on FSD at that moment, right? Everything is so badly presented that it's a proof of nothing. So the guy obviously didn't have his best intentions, and contrary to you, Christian, I didn't feel he was at ease in that car. I mean, he was sitting there, he watched it, and he was maybe positively surprised by what's happened, but he wasn't at ease being there because his point was not proven. And I do think, while again I was going on for weeks and weeks with Ross that he should just cancel the whole thing. I think Ross didn't hurt the Tesla brand today, and he may even have slightly helped it by this whole thing, because there's now multiple pictures out of with them four sitting in Ross's plaid, and the guy sitting there like a grumpy old man who didn't get what he wanted, and it's just written all over his body language. So I think it's mission accomplished for Ross, and I haven't watched it all yet, but at least the other guy didn't get out of it what he wanted.
I was hoping they were going to break out in carpool karaoke because there wasn't much else happening.
I get all these messages saying they talk about you. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, I don't know what.
Yeah,
I wasn't there. They weren't in my street, so I have no idea what happened.
I think that's what I was trying to say.
They drove by and goes, "This Alexandra lives here."
I'm not talking about what happened before. I'm saying just in that moment. Remember, I didn't think this was necessary either. But for them doing it, I don't think. I was actually pleasantly surprised that it was like essentially a non-event. If anything, it was beneficial to Tesla. Like it was like he was like, wow, this is actually not. It's doing better than what I expected, right?
Well, people that drive FSD and that have the latest software, that have they know it works, they know there's issues, but they know it doesn't perform like it does in these weird down videos. So I think that just came to fruition today.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. But just to be clear, Dan O'Dowd owns a competing company that is threatened by the Tesla's FSD because he's trying to sell his and trying to prove that his is better. So there is no, this is not it wasn't, I'm smiling and oh my God, it's the first time I'm experiencing it. That's not the case. He was just trying to look and appear like as if he's not threatening. And he's a what they consider him a billionaire. And so he's been prepped on how to prepare for this, but it didn't go his way. Good news. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic. So we've talked about the Tesla stock. Let's go back to the high level. What's going on in the kind of like the economy, broader economy? Because I think it's very important for us as Tesla stock owners to know. And I've got this nice clip. It's a 2-minute clip, but it kind of explains what's actually happening. And I'm curious what you guys think about this. So let's hear this.
Time now to bring in our halftime headliner, Mr. Tom Lee. He's the head of research and a managing partner at Fundstrat, also a CNBC contributor. Tom, it is great to have you here at Post 9.
Great to see you all.
All right, so you got a new note out today. I want to make sure I point out you are the biggest bull on the street. S&P target of 4,700, about a 6% upside from where we are right now. Next closest BMO only a 2.5% rise. You put out this note today saying that we're not seeing the normal Fed playbook with their tightening cycle. This is an inflation war. How does that shape, or how should it shape investors' view of the rally that we're seeing and your outlook for the rest of the year?
Well, I think that there's two things the market sort of framework I think is changing, and that's why there's momentum in stocks. The first is I think too many economists think this is a traditional business cycle, Fed cycle, tighten until you break the economy. But it's really an inflation war, and the Fed will slow down or even stop when inflation expectations break. We got the UMich one-year inflation survey today. I don't know if people saw it, 3.3%. That's an utter collapse in consumer expectations of inflation. I mean, just utter collapse. So I think the Fed's is done a lot sooner than people realize.
So does that change the rules of engagement when you're looking at this market and where to put money, or maybe even pull or trim money?
Yes. Couple things. If you look at past inflation wars, when the inflation war is over, strangely enough, the market pins itself to the original level, meaning like 82, you saw the stock market recover the entire 27-month bear market in 4 months. And I think what we're seeing today is the stock market is trying to pin itself back to 4,800, led by cyclicals, because these companies survived an inflation war, and they've been battle tested. But I think the second thing that people have been sort of expecting, widely held, is a recession. But instead of us falling into a recession, we're actually slipping into an expansion. I mean,
No.
4 months past inflation wars. What do you guys think?
I'll go real
Jeff?
quick. So I'll go, Jeff. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, I can start. I mean, there's two analysts on the street that kind of get a lot of publicity on air, which is Mike Wilson from Morgan Stanley and Tom Lee. And Tom Lee's been, last year, Mike Wilson, he's Mr. Bear, and he was right last year. And Tom Lee, Mr. Bull, was off, obviously. And then coming into this year, Mike Wilson, first half, he goes, it's going to be brutal. We're going to retest the lows. And Tom Lee's like, he started going through the data, started going through how, the hot January start. Basically, Tom Lee's been right now, and Mike Wilson's been wrong. And basically everybody kind of bared up coming into this year has missed a 30+ percent NASDAQ rally. They've missed the S&P going up to 4,400. And nobody really expected that. Nobody was calling that. I wasn't sitting here calling that either. So I think right now you've got a case of, well, where does it go from here? So obviously, and we talk about the Fed, and you pull this in, they have to stay extremely hawkish in all of their conversations. You notice they're all aligned. They've rolled out all the Fed, half of the Fed governors this week, and they're all aligned with, raising again a couple of times between now and the end of the year. Core inflation still sticky, and so forth. But what doesn't change is the facts are their inability to forecast inflation, their inability to forecast credit, their inability to forecast jobs. They've been off really on all of them, and that's where we get these surprises. So if there is a surprise, there won't be any additional rate increases later this year. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And then if you look at if you look at real time, um, call it high frequency data versus some of the data that the Fed uses, they've got core inflation already below 2%. If you look at real high frequency housing data, remember home prices actually aren't in the inflation number. It's owner's equivalent rent. So if you actually look at the high frequency Redfin, Zillow data, Case-Shiller data, it would show you that that market has actually tightened up with all of the rate increases. So they paused. They said they need a little bit more time to see what's happening. So we'll see. They seem like they're all bared up and ready to go and increase in July. Let's see what the data says, and when we go into that in that meeting in July.
Go ahead, Christian.
Oh yeah, no, great points, Jeff. I'll just say, look, we've had a nice rally. I like Tom Lee. Like he's called it right. He's gotten it right, and all credit to him. I just go now. I have to look forward though. People are saying we're entering a new bull market. It's called the Magnificent Seven. 7 stocks, including Tesla, and that's great, have accounted for essentially all the gains. I saw a stat. It's like 1% of the stocks, right? Because you have 500 in the S&P 500. 1% of the stocks is accruing literally all the S&P return this year. That's not the start of a healthy new bull market. The Russell 2000, which is small cap stocks, right? Domestic companies growing, much smaller, less profitable. They're barely up. I think they're up like 3 or 4%. The equal weighted S&P 500, where if you strip out the market caps and you don't weight it by the market cap, you weight it just by you're a company and you're equal of the 500, that's up like plus 2% for the year. So to me, the strength of the market is stuck in the mega cap stocks around the AI narrative. To me, that's not a healthy way to move a general stock market higher. Eventually, you're going to run out of buyers for 7 stocks. This has to broaden out. And with the Fed continuing to raise rates, and it looks like they're going to go again in July, and these other stocks not really responding like it's this new bull market, I think that there's trouble in the back half of the year. It doesn't mean Tesla stock can't go up. It doesn't mean that the stock market can't do well. All I'm saying is there is a chance that we do get a broader pullback and that the lag effects of some of these rate hikes haven't come through the full economy, and we haven't seen it yet. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think it's good that people understand that there's still risk to the downside in the economy. I think it's just wise to understand that. I don't think if we're off to the races yet. That's all I'm saying.
Surprise,
Okay.
surprise. Do you think that I have a different opinion, or do you think I have the same opinion as you?
I think
Go
you
ahead,
have the
Herbert, and I'll
opposite
finish
opinion.
it off. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you're correct. Obviously, the facts are the 7 stocks, the mega caps, have taken the bulk of the gains this year. But actually, that's a great sign. And I think in the last show I did with Jeff, he pointed out that there is actually, you're starting to see the 493 other stocks starting to widen it. So it's not just 100% this. But what's happened, obviously, we just went through a brutal 2022. People were like, the world was falling, right? We had a war, we had massive inflation, something we haven't seen before. People just stashed their cash. Now they're seeing, okay, this AI boom, I'm going to go and put into those stocks. They seem safe. And it's looking like we're heading to a broader boom. That then kickstarts the broader NASDAQ improvement. You just heard this Bob Lee talking about how if you look at inflationary wars, periods of time when it's similar to what we just experienced, it took only 4 months for this S&P to get back up again. So this just kickstarts it. People are getting their feet in the wet, then it'll keep going moving forward. The only thing that I have to ask you, Christian, is what would require, one momentum, right? First, it was this massive downturn momentum. Now we're starting to see a beginning of an upward momentum. What would need to happen to stop that? And then if you're saying the Fed will be hawkish, they have been. If they they actually physically increase the rates by a quarter point, I don't think that's enough to change the narrative. We just saw the numbers came out this morning, right? Which is housing and jobs were like as expected, which is the Goldilocks region. If it was anything higher or lower, it would have caused that either rates would have gone up or the recession would be much harder. It was perfectly where we asked it to be. So far the numbers are cooperating with us.
No, I agree with you, and I agree with Jeff, and I agree with Alexander. Like bullish, like technically, we're in a bullish zone, right? We broke up above, and we're in a bullish zone. I'm not saying that the market can't move up higher. What I'm trying to say is there are still some risks out there, right? The Bank of England, I think inflation in England is like double, it's 12%. They had to raise another 50 basis points. The market there was only expecting 25, so they still have an inflation problem. The Fed looks like inflation is tamed, and I know a lot of people and they're saying inflation's dead, and it might be. But the stock market doing really well and people feeling wealthier, that could cause inflation to stay around. And if it reaccelerates, we have a problem. The Fed's going to have to go higher, and that's not in the market. So what I'm trying to just say is the risk is that the market thinks inflation's dead. It's not. It stays sticky, or maybe it accelerates a little bit. And then the Fed has to do more than what the market's thinking it has to do, and then we can have a correction. That's all I'm saying.
I would like to react to your initial call saying, only 7 stock are pulling the market at the moment, which is true. But I do believe once everybody has acknowledged that the Fed is not going to raise rates anymore, while they will keep on talking about it, just because that's how it works, the stupid game, the rest of the market will also pull up. I don't think real estate will quickly move up, but I do believe the general consumption picture will become much better, and from there on, all the rest that's not AI and tech related will improve as well. So I just would like to do a real bet with you, Christian. So just everybody knows. All other participants here are subscribing to my $1 Twitter monthly subscription, except for Christian, who is too cheap for it, right? So let's do the following bet. You think they still increase the rates this year in 2023 by 25 basis points at least, and I say they won't. And whoever wins, I pay you your subscription, or you pay that damn subscription yourself, right? Can we do that one? $1 a month.
I love
Come
subscription. I'm using time management. I'm a very busy man, so I'm constantly moving, and I don't want to percent of your stuff. Yeah.
The value that you get from all my chit chat on there, you have no idea.
I'll make a deal with you. If the Fed does not move 25, so you're saying they're not going to move again. I say they're going to move again at the next meeting. All right, you're on.
Okay, there we go.
And Alexandra's subscription is $1 a month, and she donates that. Okay, so Christian, it's like she donates it. Okay?
You're so cheap.
Yeah, but I'm trying. I don't want to give in, right? I'm trying to be strong, right? I'm the only one holding out.
Come on, you're the only man that resists to me. What's this now?
Whoa.
Wait a minute. Hey, just one comment. Even if the Fed raises 25 or 50, it doesn't matter. It's priced in. It's not a big deal. It's not like they're going to 7%.
I just said.
They're not going to 8%. Yeah. It's a quarter point. It's priced in.
I agree with you, Jeff. I didn't say it was a big deal. What I'm saying is, and I know you guys are optimists and bulls, and I'm a bull to an extent. What I'm trying to say is, all right, let's put it like that.
I'm a bull when the market's going up.
Oh, boom.
Boom. If there's a recession, does the market look past the recession and continue to glide higher?
Sure.
Or do you think if there's a recession, the market will go lower? So if you believe there's a recession, the market's going to go higher, there's no risk to this market at all. Yeah.
I mean, it depends how deep it is.
If you believe the recession's already baked in and the market's going to rally on the recession, we should be all in. Absolutely.
I think the market's looking ahead, and I think we had a recession last year. We had 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, and we had the S&P drop whatever. I mean, I think we had a recession, a very shallow one last year. And I think we've also had it in pockets. I don't know if we're going to have this with the way like the economy moves now and how everything is super high tech. I don't know if we're going to have this broad, like industrials, tech, services, everything's going to go into recession, retail at the same time. I think it's going to rotate. So I think it's going to be a little bit more complicated. And again, I think the market's priced in 1 or 2 rate increases, and they're like, okay, as long as something doesn't break, as long as credit doesn't break. By the way, if credit breaks, that Powell printer is going to turn on like we've never seen before. Because that's one thing the Fed is scared about. The Fed is scared about actually causing a massive credit crunch where nobody has access to liquidity.
And he actually said it in the last presser. I think that's one of the reasons they skipped, haha. I mean, they paused, but no, and let's call it skip, because they really are afraid to see how this commercial real estate crisis filters through or not. And I mean, they are between a rock and a hard place, because residential real estate just is stuck, right? Is stuck because people having had a low mortgage between 3 and 4% are not going to sell. Home buyers don't find any offers, so that market is stuck, and they try to talk tough so that real estate prices come down. We'll see whether that works. But at one moment they can't hold it, and I just believe, they know darn well 25 or 50% more is not going to change anything, but could break other things. So I just don't see it coming, and you will have to pay that damn subscription.
I just want to say one quick thing. I joke with Christian, but him and I chat offline a lot, and I value his input greatly. So, but we joke. We're going to joke in this call. We're going to joke everywhere.
He did. Did you see that? I tried to turn off the camera, but it wasn't quick enough. Sorry about that. That's happening in real life.
We love Tesla Boomer Papa. He's spicy. Very spicy. You should follow him on Twitter. I've got another bet for you, Christian. If S&P 500 goes back up to 4,800, which is a proof that we're in boom market, we're back to where we were before, right?
All-time high.
Will you subscribe to me $3 a month on my Twitter subscription? I should have done to $1. Should have done $1.
I see enough of you already, I think.
No, but if you subscribe to her, Alexander, you cannot not subscribe. See, that's the whole point of why.
That's the point.
And we will go on and go on.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, so we've been talking about whether I think the three of us think that we're heading in the boom. We're talking about Tesla's an AI company. So we talked about what our positions is in Tesla. What about other stocks? Did you guys make any moves this week in terms of investing in other equities or funds or whatever?
Can I start?
Yeah.
So I and I made it public this morning. I actually put on Thursday $20,000 in Gary Black's new ETF, which is a long short ETF. Why do I particularly like long short here? Just for the reasons we just talked about the macro market. I think there'll be winners and losers in this coming boom, and I think that Gary is doing a particularly good job in selecting the stock that he's long in and selecting the stock he's short. And he explained very well how he balances this, that it's about a 40% short and 100% long portfolio. The long portfolio is very much like FFND, his first ETF, but the short portion is very interesting. For example, in the car sector, he's short NIO, he's short Toyota, he's short Polestar, and he is short, what was the fourth one? I can't remember now, but whatever. So, and he did that for a couple of sectors. There are a couple of, straight out shorts. There are a couple of them where he has long positions in competitors and short positions in these. So in the car sector, he's long Tesla and Porsche and BYD. And what was the last one? Oh, Harley, which is EV motorcycles. So I added this to my, I have a 401k, I have 2 IRAs, and I have my trading portfolio. I put these in the trading portfolio because I want to, watch it a little bit. Usually I don't jump on ETFs the first day, but since I know Gary now for 3 years and I've followed his other ETF for more than a year and a half now, I feel very comfortable jumping in from the first day. It's an ETF that trades around $20, and I'm quite confident in that. The whole idea is to replicate at least the S&P with half the risk. We'll see whether that works, and keep you updated on that one.
Anybody else?
Other
Make any moves, Joe?
No, just one thing. Just one last thing. So last week I mentioned ASTS. I went into that stock at $5. It was at $6 then, and it's close to $7 now.
Ooh, nice job.
There you go. The lady's back.
Jeff, what'd you do?
So as Celsius got towards right at 150, I did actually exited my position on that. And again, I believe in the company. I've been invested since it was in the 40s. Traded. I had a long position. I also had a trading portion of the position. So went from 40 to 100 last year. Traded in and out of that, and then got back in the 80s, and then rode it up to near 150 here. And I'm taking profits and ringing the register But I do intend to get back in to the stock for the long term because I think it's got a great long term. It's literally crushing every other energy drink in its field, and it's a kind of it's a different product. So that's probably the bigger move. And then just EOSE is continuing. It's at its 52-week high. It printed today, and it's continuing to have a lot of great news roll in on that stock. So that one's been more than a double just in the last couple of months. So I'm looking to continue to hold that, and really the next big milestones there are, can they acquire a Department of Energy load to give them additional capital to basically scale their operation. They've self-capitalized throughout the year. That's one of the big kind of knocks against the company, but now if they get this additional loan, part grant, they'll be able to scale the business much faster. And they've got a gigantic, over $1.5 billion backlog as well, and the market cap's only a few $100 million. So you can see where the math is on that one.
Christian?
Yeah, so not too much going on, but I am looking at some other companies. I talked about PayPal last week and Chipotle, but I'm also looking at healthcare because I am a little bit defensive here, and I think growth. Take away the AI narrative. Just some like maybe some healthcare names. Again, I'm more of a conservative investor, like United Healthcare or something. Solid companies that have gotten beaten up, that valuations have come in a little bit, and maybe start looking at them and looking at just different areas of the market, because there's always like a bull market somewhere, right? If you don't want to be buying Apple, to me, you don't want to buy Apple at 3 trillion, right? That's an all-time high. Now maybe you do very good and it keeps going up, but I don't think you're getting in at a good price. So I want to look at other areas of the market that maybe have good prospects, and you just haven't had a lot of love by market participants for whatever other reason. And you got to go find those, right? Go listen to conference calls, go do those things. So I see opportunities outside of technology, the biggest stocks in the world, and so I'm looking at some of that stuff, and that's one name. But again, I haven't been doing too much lately. I still do have a lot of cash. Again, you're getting paid 5% plus to be in cash. That's not terrible. I understand.
Wait. You always say 5%. If you go in 3 months, you get 5% divided by 4, right? It's not as if you get 5%. In Tesla, you have days where you get 5% in a day.
No, I agree. What I'm saying is you're getting paid 5% in a yearly basis to sit in cash. So if you had X amount of dollars, and over that 12 months, say the S&P returned 8% in a year, right? You would say, I got 8% of my money. Well, in cash right now, you can get a little over 5%. So what I'm saying is, if that money, like you invested in the S&P and it get 8% for the year, if you left the money there in 1 year, you'd get a little over 5% on your money. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but do you really want to miss out for the stock market for a year?
No. So let me, and I got to clear this up. I'm in the market. I'm just not 100%. So I guess everyone here is 100% in the market. I'm not 100% in stocks. I'm just not. So I have a good position, maybe 50, 60% in stocks, but I have 40% doing other things, and a lot of it's still in cash. So I'm participating on the upside. I'm probably not doing as good as you guys are doing this year, but I feel safe, and on any pullbacks, I'll deploy. And again, you can't participate in opportunities if you have no cash. If you're already all in and the market dislocates and you get a little bit of a correction, and you can't participate because you're all in. So again, I'm in no rush. Everything's great. And if we get a little bit of a correction, I'll be able to pick up some stocks at a discounted price. That's all.
Yeah, so that's great. I mean, makes a lot of sense, and I totally respect that, and all makes sense. I just want a small little nuance when you said, like, when a stock is an all-time high, like Apple, you have to be a little bit more careful. And absolutely true. Stocks go up, stocks go down. They're cyclical. But a point that I wanted to make was, I've been invested in Apple forever and in Tesla forever, and when you find a company that is very strong balance sheet, strong growth, and if you believe that the story does not change, and every year you reevaluate it every month, and it's still on the path, I've technically bought every time I bought Tesla at its all-time high. I mean, technically, you know what I'm saying? Like, right whenever I bought it at $10 at the time, it was crazy. When I bought it at $300, it was crazy. When I bought it at $600, it was crazy.
I bought it $400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah, I
always
agree
an
with
all-time high. Now it goes up and then you goes down and then fine, you can buy again, but then it'll keep falling to 100.
you.
Who
Right.
knew it was going to fall from 300 to 200? You start buying, some of us started buying at 200, went to 100.
Right.
But as we all know,
I
as we
agree.
all believe, Tesla will hit well over $400. You won't be concerned about that, Alexandra. You can sleep well tonight because none of the story has
idea.
changed at all. Really. In fact, every month, every day, we do presentations and we show the incredible news that keeps coming back. Number one market here, signed deals with this prime minister and that. I mean, it's just crazy. The
Yeah.
technology is so there's nothing that's showing that you should be scared at this point for Tesla that it won't hit its all-time high at some point in the
Yeah.
future. Anyways, just a small point. Not that you're wrong or I'm right or
Yeah, no,
wrong.
I
I'm
agree.
just saying that
And let me just preface
that's
it
just a
so
small point.
everyone understand. This is not Tesla. My Apple, I do not have a position in Apple. So what I'm saying, since I don't own it already, I find it hard for me to go into Apple now, right? I want to buy
Yeah.
stocks that maybe aren't at their all-time highs. That's what I meant. That's just my
Yep,
preference.
that makes sense.
Not if you
Yeah,
already own
absolutely.
it and your whole. I'm saying if you don't have a position and now, oh, I want to buy Apple today. I think that's kind of silly.
Yeah.
Like you should have
Yep.
been buying.
Christian,
Yeah.
what stock did you ever hold for the longest time?
I-
What was really one stock
Tesla.
that
Probably Tesla. I held it from pretty much 2019, early 2019, until it got into that over 1 trillion market cap, whenever that was, that run, and then the run to
yeah,
1.2.
so you did it.
Yeah.
For
So
a trader, you did
few
ideally
years,
what
a
you were
few
supposed
years,
to
yeah.
do, right? Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, buy low, sell
Right.
high, I guess is the concept.
Okay, so we had a fantastic conversation so far. I'm learning a lot. So let's have a little fun. We got to talk about, other topics. And one of the big ones is the silly cage match. What the hell's happening? Can somebody explain to me how did it all start? Where Elon apparently and Zuckerberg, they started saying, hey, I'm open to having a cage match with you. How did it start?
Well,
You guys know?
there's a little bit more to the story to it. So Zuckerberg tries to now run a Twitter competitor, right? So this is supposed to launch soon, and that's how the whole conversation started. I think Elon's first response was like, "Yeah, it's not as if Facebook doesn't already have a lot of your data; they need even more, right?" Which shows that it's all about the data. Not that that's a surprise, and I don't remember whether it was I am Penny or whatever, but anyway, somehow it got too much. So it was Elon who said initially, yeah, I'd fight him. And then on Instagram, and of course not on Twitter, on Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg photoshopped that and put over it, select the location. I think that's his wording, but something like that. Like you name where. And then I got back to Twitter to Elon, who said, okay, let's go. Let's go to Vegas and do it. And I'm like, I can't believe it. I mean, I have 5 children, including obviously 3 sons. And this is the typical thing where I would just take my kid and tell him, look, this may be all fun, but stop this now. And that's actually what my mom did this morning. She published a sweet little tweet saying, it's all fun. You can talk, you can scream at each other, but don't get physical. And I really hope he doesn't. I think this is absolutely silly. But there we go. This is, when boys become men, they still boys. That's just it.
This may have started even earlier than that. If you remember when Elon was buying Twitter, and there was somebody asked, like, Elon, can you buy Facebook too? He goes, yeah, I would buy it so I can download it and delete it. So it may have started earlier. And I think there's been jabs kind of going back and forth. No pun intended. I actually hope they don't do this. I mean, I think it would be great publicity. I think they could donate to charity. I bet you they could get a gigantic pull in Vegas, Octagon. I'm sure that you can get just tens, if not hundreds of millions for charity. But I don't want to see somebody getting hurt or something happening where like it actually delays the progress of Tesla or their companies or even Meta and their company. Just not worth it.
Yeah, I think it's all silly. I don't think they're being serious. I honestly don't think it's going to happen, but it is going to be for fun. So Elon will push it and he may just go ahead and show up. But Jeff, weren't you also saying, which actually has a lot of truth in this, that this could be bad for the Tesla stock? If it actually heads to that space, people are afraid of something, Elon being hurt or or right disabled or whatever. So then they might go, this is going to have more impact to
Well,
Tesla,
it's
SpaceX, right?
it's another distraction. People will argue and debate endlessly, but it's one good thing if he goes into a training program. I mean, that's great, but you can get hurt in training programs. You can get hurt in sparring. You can get hurt in an octagon. So there could, yeah. So it's a diversion. It's a diversion away from his focus. This focus should be on Tesla, AI, full self-driving robots. Accelerating production, getting these factories up. So it's another diversion. It's fun.
How about
Hopefully,
my bot against your bot? That's like
yeah,
No.
that would be more fun.
So I love Jeff. I have a fun take and a serious take. So me and Jeff, we're old wrestling fans, WWF back in the 80s. We're old enough for that. So my fun take is, this is tricky here. Like, this would break WrestleMania records. This would break Floyd Mayweather fights. Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire, versus Elon Musk, billionaire, in an octagon. That would break pay-per-view records, whatever. I mean, that interest in that would be through the roof. And
Globally.
that would get hyped up. Yeah, so that's just a fun take. Now, I agree with you. You don't want anyone getting hurt, things of that nature. But we know Elon's competitive. And we know Mark Zuckerberg actually, I've seen it online, he does jujitsu. He actually gets on the mat and fights. Where I know Elon fought a sumo wrestler, right? Hurt his back. Remember that? He talked about it. He fought a sumo, like a big 400, 300-pound sumo wrestler.
That was on a whim.
Right. Well, this is kind of a whim, which will turn serious if he does it. So Elon might look at it as a challenge and say, hey, everyone, I don't really want to be out of shape. This might give him reason to get in shape, right? Because he's not in great shape, let's be honest. He can get in shape, and maybe they do it, but there's certain rules where, it's not going to get headshots or something, and maybe they grapple a little bit. I don't know. So who knows what will happen? I agree with you. There's some risk to it, but guess what? Elon Musk loves risk. And Mark Zuckerberg, as a billionaire, he gets pretty intense on the mat. So I think there's a 40 to 50% chance they meet in an octagon at some point. I do believe that. So that's just my view. Like, if Zuckerberg pushes it and Elon, he said he would do it. If he pulls back, he doesn't look very good saying, I would do this. After he called him out, Zuckerberg says, do it. And then Elon says, oh, no, thank you. So I don't know. Elon's competitive. I don't think he's going to walk away from it. That's just my view.
Yeah, and we had this discussion before we started today. Isn't it crazy that 25 years ago, just the simple fact that Steve Jobs was talking to Bill Gates was the venue of the year, right? And now they have to go. Now it has to get a cage match to excite people. My gosh, times have changed.
I'd much rather Elon fight Bill Gates than.
Me too. I'm in for that straight away.
I think Elon said he's going to use the walrus move on him, where you just kind of roll over and you flatten Mark and just stay there. Yeah.
That's not going to work, but let's hope he thinks it does.
Well, if they raise a lot of money for a charity or something like that, that would be great. But yeah, Christian was saying it's like we're in a simulation. We have to be in a simulation. There's no world where two billionaires are going to go on a cage match. It's like, what is going on?
Crazy stuff. Crazy.
It's great. He'll have it streamed on Twitter live, and it's just gonna, it'll break the internet. It'll be fun. Okay, well, wonderful. Thank you, guys. This was fun, and you guys gave a lot of good information about the stock. Tesla's just rocking, isn't it? Like every day, something new, big news. Every world leader is trying to reach out to Elon.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in demand. The company's in demand. I think we're now at the point where it's going to start to get its due, right? What it's worth. And we're going to start saying, and I'm just optimistic, as always, but I honestly feel this way. So, yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm optimistic. I think it's going to be good. Yeah. But, it's good to just kind of have all your bases understanding what's happening. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Love it, guys. This is a fun one.